in the glittering light of the chandeliers. The ballroom was bathed in rich golden light, and outside the long windows, London was turning gold too. The leaves of the trees flamed yellow and orange, and 100 little lights twinkled in the distance as a soft blue twilight fell. In the ballroom, a string quartet played an elegant waltz, and young ladies in white frocks danced gracefully with upright young gentlemen, whilst their mammas watched approvingly from the sidelines. At the edge of the dance floor, one of the sons of the house was being chivied forward by his own mamma.
"Good heavens, Rupert! What is the matter with you?"
Lady Grenville pointed her fan in the direction of a young lady across the room.
"Look, there's Lady Cynthia sitting all by herself. Can't you go and ask her into supper with you?"
But Rupert shrugged her off. He had no interest in his mother's social gatherings, which he thought dull and old-fashioned. He didn't want to dance with the prim debutantes, or to chat with their earnest dancing partners. Most of all, he did not want to sit and have supper with the sneering Lady Cynthia under the beady eye of her chaperone. Muttering something gruff, he strode off to the refreshment table, helping himself to another cup of punch before retreating to a corner where he stood alone, pulling at his too-tight collar. From across the room, a girl stood and watched him. Anyone who noticed her would probably think her just the same as the other young ladies present, a pretty girl of 18 or so, who had no doubt made her debut in society that summer. Yet a sharp-eyed observer might have noticed that there was something different about her. It was hard to pinpoint exactly what it was. Perhaps her stylish white gown, perhaps her shining dark hair with a vivid spray of crimson roses pinned against it, or perhaps the bright gleam in her eyes as she glanced around the room, as though she was seeing it more clearly than anyone else. For a moment more, she watched Rupert fold his arms and sprawl back against the mantelpiece. Then she crossed the room towards him. "These balls are so dreadfully dull, don't you think?" Rupert turned in surprise. Wrapped up in his boredom, he hadn't noticed her approaching. Now she stood just behind him, leaning against the wall as though she was as bored as he was himself. He looked up at her, for she was taller than he was, and his eyes widened. Well-brought-up young ladies did not normally go wandering about the ballroom, starting up conversations with young men to whom they had not been properly introduced.
"Oh, yes, rather,"
he stuttered in reply.
"I'd much rather go out on the town, wouldn't you?"
She flipped her ostrich feather fan open and began fanning herself lazily.
"Perhaps to the Café Royal. Now that's quite a place. You never know who is going to be there, or what is going to happen."
"Oh, rather," said Rupert, more enthusiastically this time. He'd never actually been to the Café Royal himself, but he'd heard it was a wild and exciting sort of place, 1,000 miles away from his mother's sedate ballroom. The girl let out a sigh. "If only we could escape, but I suppose we'll have to put up with all this instead." She gestured dismissively towards the waltzing couples.
Do you think that you might like to?"
Rupert found himself asking, looking awkwardly from her to the dance floor and then back again.
"To dance?"
The girl laughed, as though he'd made a joke.
"Oh, good heavens, no, Mr. Grenville. I don't care for that kind of dancing. If it was a ragtime tune now, that would be different. But I know. Why don't you show me around the house instead?"
She flashed him a dazzling smile.
"Perhaps we could find somewhere to sit and talk. That would be much better than a stuffy old waltz, wouldn't it?"
"Oh, yes, absolutely," Rupert replied fervently. He didn't think he'd ever seen this girl before, and he wanted very much to know her name, but somehow he felt embarrassed to ask the question, especially when she obviously knew who he was. Before